The Cardinal Newman Medal is the highest, most prestigious award the university can bestow on an individual. Candidates are nominated by the President's cabinet and ultimately must be approved by the Board of Trustees. The Cardinal Newman Medal is conferred upon those who demonstrate in their daily life an appreciation of the spirit and ideals of the Venerable John Henry Cardinal Newman, and who have been instrumental in the growth and the development of the university. We have here tonight several Cardinal Newman Medal Award recipients. I'm going to ask these people to stand and remain standing as I call your name. Johnny Bell, will you stand for Lori for me, please? We miss her too. Sister Charlotte Rohrbach. Sister Tarcisia Rhodes. Shirley Reed. Dr. Surendra Singh. And Robbie and Larry Heck. Let's give all these past award recipients a warm welcome. And so now it's my honor and privilege to introduce the conferring presenter of tonight's proclamation of the Cardinal Newman Medal Award. Newman's current chairman of the board, a man of immense charitable character, who also shares my life's personal enjoyment of having everyone in the world wonder what those initials really stand for. The only man who will have enough guts after tonight's presentation to walk right up to me and tell me that my shirt sleeves are in fact a half an inch too long. He is one of the few persons who can do justice to the proclamation of such an important honor, and I call to the podium Newman's chair of the board, Mr. J.V. Johnston, who will share the board's proclamation for this year's recipient of the Cardinal Newman Medal. Chairman Johnston, I yield you the podium.
JT, thank you very much. Appreciate it. First of all, if I can go back, and it seems like I have something in common with all the recipients tonight. I don't know how many times I was in Dave Skinner's weight room, and I heard the name Bittner. Bittner did this, Bittner did that, Bittner said this, Bittner said that. So it's awful nice to meet you. I know a lot more about you than you think. Tony Shounce, what a great man. And I had the privilege of playing with your brother Reed in basketball. And he's the only guy that, he played for South and I played for Capon. And it was packed at Friends University, and the lights were all out, the spotlight was on, and I run at half court, and Reed runs out to half court and proceeds to hit me in the stomach. And I appreciate that. We're here tonight to honor what I consider to be a great man that really has never seeked the limelight out and has always stayed in the background, but has worked tirelessly in a lot of non-charitables. One I know about is in the Vision, where he's done a lot there too. So I want to tell you a little bit about what he's done at Newman. Kenneth Blanchard had a quote about passion. He said, "There is a difference between interest and commitment. When you're interested in doing something, you do it only when it's convenient. When you're committed to something, you accept no excuses, only results." Like Blanchard's quote, John is committed to Newman. He put in hours and hours each week and would only accept results. John's service to Newman began on the associate board, then transitioned to the board of trustees. His talent for dissecting financial statements was a great asset to the board during that time period. And it would come in handy later, too. He was suddenly thrust into the chairman's role during one of his most challenging periods. He made some extremely tough personnel decisions for Newman. Extremely tough. There were three big challenges on John's plate as chairman. First, he had to finish the capital campaign for this building. We didn't have a president at that time. Secondly, he had to find a president because we didn't have one. Thirdly, we had the North Central accreditation looming large. And without a president, he took on a lot of that responsibility. On the first point, John forged ahead with a fundraising campaign, personally calling on donors on Newman's behalf, a job normally a president would do. He did that so well that he closed out the campaign and had made the matching grant for the Maybe Foundation, which I would tell you at the time was nerve-wracking for the board because it was in doubt. He also helped the interim president, Dr. Lee Cooper, navigate some very tough financial times. He's a master at dissecting financial statements. And he used all those talents, helping Dr. Cooper and Mark Dresselhaus really with budgets and personnel and a lot of other things that nobody ever knows about. His second challenge was hiring a president. Sure, he and the board hired a consulting firm to bring candidates in and to interview them and take them to dinner and things like that. And several of them came in. The committee didn't like any of them. True. Standards were pretty high. John knew what we needed in a president. He knew none of them would be available. So he personally got on the phone with people all over the country in the Catholic community, networking to try to find the right person for the job. Through that, a conversation with Steve and Vera Roble, who are here tonight, got the name of a priest in Denver, Colorado. That priest endorsed a candidate from Mobile, Alabama. That candidate's name was Dr. Noreen Carochi. With a lot of help from Monsignor, invoking God, literally, and he copied me on the email. I still have the email, Monsignor and John. Just a masterfully written email. They convinced Noreen to come to Newman University. And what a find he made in her. And John, I want to personally thank you for that one, because I really, really enjoy working with Dr. Carochi. Finally, the accreditation. The accreditation from North Central out of Chicago is a month's process of faculty and staff. It's the lifeblood of the university. If you don't have that, you're not a university. The faculty and staff come up with a book that is the size of a small phone book that covers everything about Newman. Finance, academics, retention, everything. He had to make sure that was completed and done. He had to make sure that all the faculty and staff were ready for that accreditation visit. Fortunately, it went very, very well. I have to share one story about that accreditation visit. We had lunch over in the Maybe Dining Center, the accreditation team, and it's 3 or 4 presidents or provosts from other universities that have been trained to do this. They stay here for 3 days, looking over everything. They wanted to have lunch with some of the board of directors. So I got a call and said, yeah, I'll come to lunch. Came to lunch, I sat next to the president of Simpson College in Iowa, a very, very fine college, always in the top 10 or 15 in the Midwest. And he said to several of us, he said, I don't think you realize that you have one of the top universities in all the Midwest. He says, I include you with names like Creighton, Notre Dame, and Washington University. We kind of looked at each other, and I said, you know, honestly, I thought we were kind of average. And he said, no. He says, your academics are of the highest standard and results in the Midwest. I said, I said, wow. Now, he had a few other things that weren't so good. And we won't go into those. And actually, those are what John really, really helped with. Lee Cooper was the interim president during that time. And really, John had to talk Lee Cooper into being the interim president. And he did. And Lee is masterful and at words, and pretty much an opposite person than John. Would you agree? Yeah. You'd agree. And it's like Sonny and Cher or whatever. But together, maybe that's a bad example. But together, they made quite a team. And it's for about a year and a half that they were a team. And Lee Cooper could not be here tonight. He lives back in the Southeast. He sent an email to Noreen and John, and nicely Noreen forwarded it on to me. And if I could just read part of that to you. It says a lot about what went on that time and what John's really about. He says, John, I wish I could join you when you receive the Newman Medal. It's an honor you richly deserve. Your period as board chair was one of trial, transition, and testing. Today's thriving Newman University, with strong enrollment and retention numbers, solid annual financial figures, respected and stable administration leadership, a beautiful new library, a solid theology program supported by the bishop, long-term regional accreditation, and a happy faculty was only a hopeful vision during your years in office. But the decisions you made, many of them tough and personal in nature, enabled Newman to change, improve, and grow. What a statement. Just beautifully written, as only Lee Cooper could do. John, you did set the table for Newman. You set the table for me. Made it easy. You made Newman a better place. And I, along with the faculty, staff, alumni, and our sponsors, the ASCs, sincerely thank you. I'd also like to thank your wife, Judy, for loaning you to Newman. Because I know how much time it was. John spent a lot of time, and Judy graciously allowed him to do that. And I'd like to thank Judy, I'd like to thank your commitment to Newman too. It's very special, and thank you very much. The Cardinal Newman Award is given to a person who has demonstrated extraordinary commitment to Newman University. John Marstall, you have clearly demonstrated this commitment. Congratulations.
One of the problems of being last is I get quite humble. This evening started out by talking about the Newman students here who had a 30 SAT or above. I can guarantee you I wasn't a candidate for that scholarship. And then I hear about the accomplishments of all the Newman alums, and they're tremendous. And I realized that I didn't have the opportunity to attend Newman. I'm an Ichabod, but so I couldn't attain those levels either. So it's a great evening. The other thing I need to warn you. A few weeks ago, JV told me, he said, John, you have 5 minutes. Yeah, maybe 3. And so I said, okay, that's a good plan. And I had this all lined out as to how I was going to do 3 minutes, and I knew I had a flight coming up, and it was going to be last night, and it was going to be a 2-hour flight, so I said, 2 hours in the airplane, that'll give me a good chance to get 3 minutes talk done. That'll be fine. Well, the bad news is my flight got delayed, and I had 6 hours. So So JV said, I can't go for 6 hours. That's what he told me as he walked off the stage. But receiving this medal is truly a great honor. I've had the privilege in the past years to select the recipients and present the recipients, and so because of that I have a deep knowledge of what this really means, and so it truly is a humbling honor, and I do appreciate it very much. As great as this honor is, what's even greater is to have all my friends, my family, the leaders of my church, all present here in one room, and that's really special to me to have everybody together. Unfortunately, my mother, who will be, as she says, 89 on her next birthday, couldn't attend, and my sister and brother-in-law from Topeka couldn't attend. But it's neat that this is being videotaped tonight. That way, thanks, Noreen, they can share in this, and so that's great, and that you're doing that. So appreciate that. But I do have my wife Judy of 38 years, and my 4 children, Michael, and David, and Kim, and Chris, and Judy's brother Kenny, his wife Peggy, are here. And it's also, I have a little extended family member here tonight that I can share this with, Sister Margaret Conover. My great-grandfather, John Henry Marstall, married Mary Conover. And so we go back a little bit. I don't know how many levels removed that is, but it's neat too. So to get the whole family taken care of. So it's also great to have the leaders of my church here, priest, and then of course the ASCs, the wonderful leadership that you serve for the church. It's the ASC's vision and your untiring work. Without that, there wouldn't be this Newman University that we all know and love. So thank you all for taking the time to attend. JV's opening remarks indicated a few experiences I had while serving as a board, and truthfully, they sounded a lot better than they were, JV. and they're certainly self-serving, but and I hate to be critical, but they really didn't give credit to everybody that was involved. And so I'd like to spend a little time talking about what really happened and kind of tell everybody the whole story, because while it was nice, there's a little more to the story. Okay. The comment about the accreditation is factual. I did support the accreditation, but this is kind of typical of the way I operate, and Judy will confirm this. I really don't ever do anything, and she'll tell you that. It was. It's very true. Yes, you admit. So, but it was Dr. Cooper's leadership and the other staff that did this accreditation. My role, if I had any in this accreditation, is that I really did understand the importance of this accreditation process. Most businesses have some type of quality standard. In my profession, it's peer review. A manufacturing company may be an ISO certification. In higher education, this quality standard is the accreditation by, in our case, the Higher Learning Commission, North Central Association. That accreditation is critical to Newman University. This is how we walk up and down the street and we tell everybody that we are a quality university, and that's our quality seal. And that's why it's so critical we got it, and all the hard work that people went in. Every time you walk up and down the street, we can confidently say, we are a quality institution because we have this seal of quality, the seal of approval. And so that's why we worked on that. JV also mentioned the capital campaign, which turned out to be successful, and this building that we're in as a result of that. It was successful thanks to the contributions of money and time of many people, many of you in this room, probably most of you in this room. But I tell you, we were running behind very significantly on our pledges, and we had a $1.3 million maybe challenge grant that was about to expire. And so things were a little tense around here, and that's a lot of money. And at this point, I'd honestly used any business skills and acumen I had to look at this deal, how we could motivate people, how we could accomplish it. I'd done my financial analysis, and it was coming up with the answer: we were not going to make that grant. We were going to lose the Maybe Challenge grant. I hadn't shared that with very many people because I didn't want to be negative, but the fact was any rational analysis of where we were at in about February that year said we were not going to succeed. It just happened about that same time that Father Bohr, who's sitting up front, and he's also a relative of my wife's, so we get all the family here, but came in to have his taxes done. And this is always kind of a fun time because he, and I always get to explain to him that the IRS is going to be entertained, but not really impressed by some of his creative deductions he comes up with. But one day I was working on his taxes and lamenting to him about our situation with our campaign. And he says, I know what you need. I'll be back. And sure enough, he shows up a day later and he comes in and says, I have what you need. And in my worldly ways, I thought, he's got a check for me. So, yeah. But no, he had something better. He gave me the statue of the Infinite Prague. And he also gave me a prayer book. And that prayer book is a discussion of the history of this statue of the Infinite Prague. And most of you are probably like me, I really didn't know about it, in all honesty. But it seems that the history talks about that there was a poor monk in a monastery, and he was in need of additional funds. And he began to pray to this statue, and sure enough, his prayers were answered, and the funds he needed came in. Now you understand, I can't prove that my daily prayers with that statue using that book he gave me was why we achieved this campaign. I know many others were praying, many of the ASCs were praying daily for the success of this campaign. But I can tell you and report to you that it was about this time that the pledge cards we needed started coming in. And a couple months later, we met our goal. And so, all I can tell you is that this had nothing to do with financial analysis or acumen. This had to do with God, and God loves Newman, and that's why we attained that goal. And so there's no doubt in my mind that's why that happened. So, JV also mentioned my role in the hiring of Noreen. And over the years, we've been blessed with many great presidents here at Newman University. And I'm confident that history will record that Noreen will be judged as one of the finest we've ever had here. So, as you all know, we went for some time without a president. Very frankly, we could have hired some adequate presidents, perhaps even someone who would have been a good president during that time period. But it was my judgment and the judgment of many others on the committee that we weren't going to settle for adequate. We wanted an outstanding president. We were well positioned as a university. We had a lot to offer, and we could get an outstanding president. Besides some of the typical strong resume qualifications we were looking for a president with a heart. And for those of us who have associated with the ASC sisters, we know how important the heart is. Every time we look at you sisters and we see the silver heart around your neck, we're reminded how important that heart is. It reminds us of your commitment to promoting reconciliation. To find a president who not only had the leadership skills that we needed to manage Newman University, but also a president who had the heart. That was our challenge. After we'd met Noreen, and the committee had been convinced that she was the one who could be that outstanding president, I asked our chaplain, Father Tatro, to lead us in a 9-day novena, one of the most traditional prayers of the Catholic Church. During that time, we were in constant communication with Noreen, letting her know the novena prayers, telling her how short the commute times were in Wichita.
That's the only lie you told me.
The only one? Okay. Okay, I was going to say I told you how warm the winters were, too.
Okay, maybe two.
All right. And I also told you we expect you to spend all kinds of time on the golf course. Some I've been through. But we did this all anticipating the day that we would have our president and Noreen would be our president. As a university family, we were praying that she was the right person. At the end of this 9-day novena, I was really ready for God to call and have Noreen call and have God say through her call that she's accepted, she was the one. But alas, she wasn't responding. I kept checking my emails, my cell phone, my office phone, all the answering mail I had, and there wasn't any communications coming from Mobile. So I called Father Joe one day and I said, "Oh, did we do this novena thing right? Should have been a 12-vena or something, I don't know." And he assured me we'd done it okay, it was right. But finally one day she called me and she said, "I accept." I remember this and I asked her to repeat it. It's right, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, I'm telling the truth now. And she said, "I accept." Now, what really struck me was, after all this, it was just 2 words. I accept. The acceptance was unconditional. This unconditional acceptance is what shocked me. She was putting her faith in Newman. She was ready to fully embrace the outcomes of her decision. It was at that moment that I knew we'd found this outstanding president, one whose heart really would be with Newman. And thanks to the work and prayers of many, and God did answer our prayers. Running a university is a big job, and I ask each one of you to continue to support Newman, and particularly Noreen, as she leads us into the future. Mr. Chairman, we have a high-quality university, solidly grounded in our Catholic faith. Newman is a university with a good board and good executive leadership. But most of all, Newman is a university that is meeting its mission to empower graduates to transform society. Thank you all for giving me the honor of receiving the Newman Medal, and may God continue to bless Newman. Thank you.